Hello, welcome to Printheads.
Good morning, good
Hi,
morning.
guys.
So I'm Colin Gilman,
I'm Jack Gocher.
And I'm Mike Horston.
yeah, and we are the Printheads.
We are indeed.
Absolutely.
One of these days we'll do this and we'll get it all in time.
Oh, yeah, eventually. Well, thank you very much for joining us. You can see I'm here surrounded by years of experience in the print industry. Years and years and years. Colin, I would love you to tell everyone a little bit about what Printheads is and why we're here.
Well, Printheads is a talking head show for the printing industry, hence the name Printheads. But we're calling it infotainment for the new normal. So we want to make it informative, but also we want it to be informative and entertaining. And I think that's really the key word because, who wants to sit and watch three blokes just warble on about printing for an hour? We want to make it interesting and fun, and we like having fun. So that's what we're going to do. We are effectively able to bring on guests. So as we move forward each week, we'll have a guest that we can add in, or if we feel like it. And then we'll basically develop the show and keep moving forward. So that's Printheads. And that's what you can look forward to. So, Jack, what have we got on this first show?
Well, we've had lots of plan to get this first show up and running, and we're going to talk about the big topic in town, which is, of course, coronavirus and COVID-19, and how the industry has dealt with it thus far, but perhaps more positively, how we're going to look forward into 2021 and get everyone back full force again. And that's a really important thing that we'll be discussing between us initially. We're going to be talking a little bit about what the three of us have been up to during the pandemic, and we're still here, so we're doing something. So we're going to have a chat to you about what we've been up to. It's good, interesting stuff. It'll include the subjects of online exhibitions and 3D printing. And then we'll have a little wrap up and talk about how you can get involved and be part of the show with ideas. Come on and be a printhead if you wanted to, and that's what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, we want guests. Yeah. We want
Yeah,
you to enjoy it. Yeah, we want you to join in with us. Yeah.
yeah. There's nothing like this for the print industry at the moment. So this is your forum. This is your chance to really get involved and get the message out there and talk about the topics that are most important to you and your industry.
Yeah, we're breaking new ground with this.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, guys, send in your question, because we are happy to reply. And most of the time, we probably won't know the answer, but talking about it will give you some sense.
Well, even if we don't know the answer, then we, with us, with our expertise in terms of the people that we know, we'll always find an answer for you. That's for sure.
Yeah. And we'd also take the opportunity to maybe look at videos that you're putting together and other visual items that might be of interest to a broader industry. So, without further ado, should we talk a little bit about our main topic of the day, which is coronavirus, is COVID-19, and how the print industry has coped with it thus far?
No, I haven't.
It's interesting.
It's been tough.
You can personally cope. So, Mike, how has the print industry sort of so far dealt with the virus?
I think it really depends on the section and which segment in the print industry we're talking about. If we're looking at people that have been making COVID signs, they've been doing quite well, and they have enjoyed the rush. Cutting acrylics, printing floor graphics, printing all kinds of stuff. But I think the general print industry has really not benefited from COVID. Not only that, I think it has been quite devastating for a lot of countries and a lot of people making things. I think the only part of our industry, if we look at the whole industry, which has done reasonably well in this COVID times, is the packaging industry. Packaging, everybody's buying online and people need to get, stuff done. But how can you get stuff done when you need to go out there and talk to people? So the result is a lot of packaging happening. Amazons of the world are sending packaging. And one of the curious things I've seen lately is that industries are changing their way of packaging. So where they used to have a box in a box, they're now decorating the outside of the box. That is basically the shipping box. So those things have been printed. So the printing industry on the packaging side is doing quite well, I presume. But the rest, my God, we have had some difficult times. I'm not sure how it is in the UK, but that's, the continental Europe side.
Yeah. Well, the labels sector alongside packaging has also just continued. I mean, that doesn't affect anything because you don't need any special labeling for COVID. It's really well, I'll start by saying I think in the cut sheet market and the litho and the cut sheet digital color market, that's as dead as a dodo at the moment because people aren't back at work. So the biggest conundrum for companies that are operating Xerox and Konicas and Ricos and those sorts of high production volume printing machines is how are you going to enable people to work from home that can then connect with high volume print. So everybody's rapidly trying to develop software solutions, which is all well and good, but there's no click through on software solutions. So you've got to be able to just keep developing product to enable people to print there. So I'm not seeing any movement in that side of the industry, what you might call the conventional printing industry. But in the signage sector, I hear stories every week of how companies are actually improving their year-on-year performance. And, they're selling more ink, they're selling more consumables, they're selling not necessarily more machines, but I've also heard of companies and businesses that are holding their own with machine sales. Admittedly, maybe they've sold more perhaps used equipment than they have, brand new. But it's really come about, I think, because of the sort of the graphics for retail and display and signage and those sorts of things that people need. The flow graphics. The stand here, wait here, queue here, go there, don't touch this, wash your hands. Wear a mask type thing, and that's created business, but it's not, I think, enough to sustain an industry. And many aspects of our industry, as we all know, that are doing events and so forth, are just not happening. And those boys are having to look to new sectors. So the growth has really come in things like personalisation, where people are sitting at home at the moment, and they're going on Amazon and they're starting to order personalised products. They're looking around, going for more personalised items. We're seeing a growth in that, and we're seeing a lot of new companies come on board with that. But I personally think it's really more floor graphics, surface graphics, those types of things. We're holding our own there, but it's still a big industry, and I think we've got a long way to go yet.
I would agree, Colin, but I think we have to realize one thing, and is that I've noticed that we all blame COVID for everything. I mean, I've been calling sometimes a company and their customer services, and I get a phone call, and in the customer services it says, "Sorry, we're not able to help you right now because of Corona." Well, okay, the first couple of weeks, of coronavirus pandemic, I can understand that, but by now the IT guys should have sorted, how to reroute telephones. What I do want to say with that is that I don't think we need to blame Corona for everything. I think that if you look at the publishing sheet market where you're talking about, that has been dead for a while. It has been dead, and it's not growing. Car manuals are even put on a DVD these days. If not, you get them online. This is a car where you used to have these thick books, in your car, which you never looked at except when you had a problem. The same thing happens for other things. I see that a lot of companies are, where they're because of legal reasons, you need to put, 17 languages, booklet inside of your product. It's a leaflet referring to a web address where you can find the rest of the information. So from that point of view, I think the print industry and the sheets, booklets, and those kind of things have dramatically gone down. What it has noticed me because of people working at home is that the retail industry is pushing out more promotional leaflets, the weekly supermarket, the weekly bakery, the weekly whatever, and bringing that into the houses. So I see my stacks, at least in the Netherlands, I see the stacks of free commercial items coming out. It used to be a little stack, now it's that much a week. My paper bin is getting fuller by putting just this kind of stuff. They're all printed. So from that point of view, there is a movement on print, and I think that's good. Let's be honest. We need to look at where the market goes. I think this is accelerating. The whole COVID pandemic is accelerating the way print is changing. And this is a normal thing. I mean, in every revolution, industrial revolution, the electronic revolution, and now pandemic, COVID pandemic is creating a revolution of working home, working differently, collaborating differently. I think those are things that are changing print, and I think we need to adapt and be creative. I think that our industry is probably one of the most creative industries, and we should not sit and wait. We should be creative and change and adapt to different things. I'll talk about a little bit about that later, Colin.
Yeah, I've not seen evidence of increased print. Funnily enough, in the UK, my wastebasket is pretty much standard. I've not noticed supermarkets increasing anything. I've not noticed any sort of any kind of direct mail or anything like that that's encouraging you to want to go out and spend. But we keep having this sort of on-off lockdowns, which I don't think help. I mean, whether you like them or not, or whatever your thoughts are, there's a general consensus that lockdowns don't work. But that really is more of a political issue than anything else. But it certainly doesn't help the hospitality sector, for example. Restaurants and pubs and bars and stores and gyms and everything like that. When you're clicking them on and off like a light switch, it's bad for business, and business is suffering. I mean, at the moment we are in the UK. I can only speak for the UK, Mike, but I mean, we're being led down a path by the emperor's new clothes, and almost King Canute like trying to hold back a virus that effectively we got to learn to live with, which means you shouldn't be shutting the economy down. So many people are suffering.
I think it really depends per country, and this is the dangerous of when we're talking about COVID in general. There is so many differences. Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Sweden, UK. Everybody is adopting different rules. Everybody is looking at COVID in a different way. The scientists and the medical scientists are all different in every country, determining what to do. Look at Sweden. Sweden did nothing. And they went on for a very long time. Although I have to say their mortality rates have gone up again. In the Netherlands, we had something called an intelligent lockdown. Basically, it meant I decide myself if I should stay home or not, kind of thingy.
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest failures of this COVID-19 pandemic, we all feel, is the unification of our governments, all the governments, of coming up and saying, okay, guys, in Europe, face mask, or in Europe, 2 meters, 1 meter, 50 centimeters, whatever. But let's agree to disagree and come up with one solution. I mean, if I had to travel around Europe today, and I traveled a lot, before the pandemic, I probably have a book that thick.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out which country to do what.
And what laws, what's going on. I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
It must be. I mean, I'm very much attached to airlines. You guys know that, but it must be a nightmare for these guys. They plan a flight to New York tomorrow, and the rules change overnight. So they have to tell passengers, oh, by the way, you need now a certificate B, not the A1. Now, the A1 was for yesterday. You need the B1 for today. I mean, Jack, how do you feel about all this? I mean, you're sitting nicely in the middle, being quiet about it, but
I'm waiting patiently for my moment. Rather like dealing with COVID, to be honest. We can sit here. We don't know anything really about how this virus works and how we're going to get out of it. We can just follow the news and do the best we can and adapt in order to do the best we can throughout it. There does appear to be some light at the end of the tunnel. We will be back to normal at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. And I'm really keen to explore, particularly through you guys, because I think you mentioned, Mike, a lot of people blaming COVID for business, but actually there's a lot that's been different or changed about, particularly the print industry, for many years. The amount of mail and printed product you receive has reduced, and people have had to deal with that. So it's no different now. How are we going to take this going forward into 2021 and beyond? And how are print companies and Sign, Display, and all these companies, how are they going to embrace new technologies, embrace new markets, and be successful going forward?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point, Jack. I mean, it's very difficult to be a printer right now, because for a start, you haven't got any trade press coming through your door anymore. That seems to have dried up. I've not seen hardly a magazine. I know that they are still limping along. We've got
updates still coming through.
Yeah, they do. I saw the print business actually, which came through just recently, which is nice, but not many. I mean, funnily enough, I received an email from, shall we say, a well-known publishing house down in the southwest that was trying to flog me HTML email shots for 900 quid. It's like, hang on a minute. I mean, isn't that got a whiff of desperation about it? Shouldn't you really be doing something to help the market? Shouldn't you be doing something to help people rather than just try and exploit it? And that's why we're doing things like this. Printheads is here to try and help, and engage.
And it's free.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you want to be a sponsor, of course. So
we're always open for discussion.
We are indeed.
No, but I mean, I do realize
17 minutes.
Yeah.
Didn't take me long.
Well, let's be honest. We have to be realistic, and I agree with you. The publications are less, etc., and there's a lot of things not going as well as they should be. I think that certain things in the European community, like Brexit, is affecting that. COVID at the same time. Travel restrictions are not only for us, but the travel restrictions also makes it more difficult to gather news. It isn't that easy for a magazine, in their defense, to go to a place and do a nice photo shoot and a good interview, because it just becomes more difficult to do. And then kind of things kind of dry up. There's so many specials you can do, and it doesn't make it very easy. But I understood you guys are doing something quite interesting online, also doing some stuff, because one of the things we've noticed, I've noticed dramatically, and it's around the time to talk about it, but COVID has changed exhibitions. And let's be honest, in our industry, exhibitions was the big thing. We remember the FESPAs, the Drupas, the Sign UKs, the C-prints of the world. Even there's people, I used to go to Grafima in Belgrade, of all places. Fantastic show. Tiny, but great show. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of people talking. And this is one of the things that I miss most in this pandemic, is the amount of talking to customers, being able to have discussions, lively discussions, and learn about one or the other new thing. But I heard you guys are doing something special, Colin. What's going on down there in the UK?
Yeah, what we're doing now is we're working with the Sign and Digital UK show, as we've always done. Jack and I have been working with them for a while now, but they're doing something a little bit different, and it's interesting what they're doing, and I'm enjoying it greatly. What they're doing is they're setting up a kind of a monthly online exhibition. Now, it's small at the moment, and it's going to grow. But what Jack and I are doing is we're sort of hosting a talk show part of that. So almost like what we're doing here, but we're really focused on interviewing multiple guests from the industry. And then Jack will also host some technical breakout sessions from exhibitors. And the beauty of it, I think, really, is that they can build alongside it, Mike, an online exhibition. And it's not an online exhibition like you think of these things that are, log in, set up your avatar.
PDFs.
No, yeah, it's real. Yeah, okay. It's real. So what you've got is actually company. I'll give a very good example of it. Is Jim Nichol, who I've known for many, many years, runs Magic Touch here in the UK. And Magic Touch is all about promotional items and promotional goods and apparel and, decorating mugs and cushions and all sorts of things, textiles. Jim's done every one of them. And what Jim did right at the start of the COVID back in March was he kitted his showroom out with multiple cameras and a remote control to be able to click between them. So he can do online demonstrations that are really high quality. And Jim has basically stayed with the Silent Digital Online event every month, and he's there doing his bit every month because he knows even if we're talking about digital cutting or sustainability or, you know, wide format printing, there's always going to be somebody that's interested in what Jim's got to show. And because he's so professional in the way he approaches it, it's a fantastic live experience. And that will only, you know, grow and grow and grow as we go on month by month. Well, Jack, what about from your perspective on this?
Well, I mean, as Mike said, I mean, this industry is very much about exhibitions and coming together. And we are social creatures, and we do like to touch and feel our products. I mean, it is a very touchy-feely industry. And I think, obviously, the standard exhibitions definitely is something we have not been able to do and probably won't for a few months yet. And I think what the Sign and Digital organisers wanted to do is really support their regular exhibitors, all the people that are missing out on that face-to-face event, bringing that event online, allowing all the people that would normally come to the show to come to their show. And as he said, Magic Touch have got an amazing setup, so have many of the others. They've reproduced either their booth or whatever their display area.
Yeah, Zoom were very good, weren't they? I thought Zoom were excellent with that.
YPS again, there's another one. There's lots of good companies that are on there, and you know, as a visitor, you have the opportunity to wander onto their booth, and there'll be a physical person there to talk to you over the screen and answer questions. And Colin and I's role, mainly with Sign and Digital, was to run their sort of main stage seminar program, and we're kind of bringing that into this event as well. So if you want to come and listen to some people talk about their new printer or the latest developments or how to make money using this piece of kit, you can come in and listen to us talk to people, and it's a great way of sharing that information. So long may it continue.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, you know, it gives you the customer from his area at work, at home, opportunity to look at new kit. Because I think one of the things that I've noticed in this pandemic, because we're all staying home, the underestimation of being able to kick the tires and being able to play, even if this is virtually and remotely, to play with the kit. I think that's crucial in this industry. I don't think anybody will buy a printer without looking at the results. And this is a great step because I can do some printing and then mail me the results. Ship them to me and I can look at them. So, no, it's a cool idea.
One of the things about it that I really like is the live aspect. So it's not like, one of these virtual exhibitions, so there's none of this logging in, create an avatar, mooch around looking at other people's virtual booths, which frankly are pretty rubbish, right? That sort of thing. I mean, I don't want to decry the virtual exhibition sector, but they're not great. What I think is really good about the Sign and Digital event is that you can actually really engage with people. You can really see in a live setting this stuff working, and the smart companies are really working toward creating online demonstrations that you can interact with. It's very good. I mean, for example, in the last one that we did, which was about wide format printing, we had a fantastic conversation where we had Epson, Roland, Hybrid Services representing Mamaki in the UK, all together at once, and a really good conversation about it. So, it was superb stuff. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
James,
I just wanted to say, we are all obviously looking forward to a time where we can come and see each other again and look at kick tires and do this properly. But I do hope that this form of online exhibition may continue long after, because it is a cost-effective way of getting in front of people and learning about products and industry and meeting people. And I think one of the future, as we go into the future, one of the things that will happen is there'll be this mix. There'll be this mix of working from home and from the office where possible. There'll be this mix of virtual exhibitions and real exhibitions. But I for one, cannot wait. I can't wait to go and watch a football match. I can't wait to go to an exhibition. It's going to happen soon.
Yeah, yeah. When's the next one that we're doing for Silent Digital, Jack?
The next show is on December the 15th. We'll be looking at the sort of personalized goods and textile market, looking at the textile technology companies. So we're going to have lots of interesting people on there. We're in the process of planning it at the moment. We'll put the details of how to register on our Facebook page.
Yeah, we'll do that. I mean, I do know that yesterday I did have a conversation with Magnus Mihal of RA Smart, and Magnus has agreed to let me do a half-hour interview with him. So I'm going to do a special 30-minute tech talk with Magnus, where he's going to really take us right the way through all the pros and cons of textile printing. So that will be interesting. But I agree with you, Jack. I think that we're the new normal, as we say, is going to be a mixture of live events and things like the Silent Digital and Printheads and these sorts of things. Because we're so used to this now, the Zoom meeting. I mean, because of my, as you know, I had a brief spell of throat cancer last year. So I get my government letter that says you can't go out now and you've got to lock down and you've got to hide away. And bless my wife, she's looked after me and kept me hidden. But apart from one business meeting, I've not been out since March. So I'm really looking forward to getting in a crowd. I want to go to a football match. I want to go to a concert. I want to be surrounded by people breathing all over me again. It's the only way.
Well, okay.
So,
you're right. I mean, it is an opportunity, and I do agree with you, Colin. I think that there will be a mix in the future, and I think it's a great idea which you guys have put together with Sign UK. I've done a couple of summits online already myself this year. And you can see there is a lot of attention. There's a lot of viewing. There's a lot of people interested in doing this, or live, or looking at the replay, because maybe you are looking at the replay today. Maybe this is not live.
Yeah.
You never know. No, this is live, guys. But the thing is, it really makes it more difficult to organize things. But once you got it organized, once it's done, it's a great flow. And I think that if you want to go to an exhibition and you don't have the time, you can do it from home. You can do your pre-information instead of using Google. You basically look at some of the speakers, talk to them, ask them questions. I think it's a great thing. I mean, I did one summit a couple of months ago in Dubai for the SGI show in Dubai, which was the last show of the year as far as I know. It was in January, and then after that all the shows kind of had to be halted. But what they did was great. They invited some guests and we talked about some subjects, and there was a lot of enthusiasm in the Middle East region where travel is always difficult, and now with COVID even more difficult. So I think it's opportunities, and these are opportunities that we're creating all together. And I think this is where we will survive the market. I think it's good for the print industry. I think it's good for the industry in general. Okay, compliments, guys. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
We'd love to hear your view as well if you're watching here. If you have your views on exhibitions and whether you prefer live or online or combination of both. And if you are an exhibition organizer and would like to get on and talk about what your plans are for next year, that again would be love to hear from you.
Write us a PM, personal message, and type it, send it to us, or email us. And Colin, you probably have a nice email address where they can send all the stuff to.
Well, at the moment, they can send it to me at the Gill, colin@thegill.co.uk. But we will have a nice Printheads email address, but I'm going to let Jack set that up because I'm not that. I'm not that techie. Yeah, I know.
You could like our Printheads Facebook page and leave us any message you like on there. That's probably the easiest way at the moment.
But we will have a Printheads email where you can get in touch with us. But yeah, you're right. I've done plenty with this, but it was an oversight to not get the email up and running. But
it does tell the audience very honestly that we are humans. This is not. This is not ABC broadcasting, or this is not CNN. What we have here is three people willing to help you in the future with questions and items and articles. And really, the infotainment part is crucial in this one, Colin.
Yeah.
We want to be a little bright spot, little bright spot, a little LED in the darkness in the print industry. And let's be and have some fun all together. I think that there's Christmas coming soon, Thanksgiving on my birthday. And
nice.
And I'm not, but I'm not allowed to go out there and shoot a turkey, which I never did anyways because I love animals. So my children will probably kill me anyways because all the meat to waste. But no, so. But anyways, no, great job, guys. Looking forward to 15th of December. I'll be one of the first ones dialing in. And I know you guys, but still, I will be dialing in.
Well, we'll get you on the show, actually, because there's going to be, hopefully we'll have a future one, where we'll probably be focusing on 3D printing, Mike. And that's something I know that you've been having a bit of a dabble in over there. In where you're broadcasting from is actually your workshop.
Yes, it is.
Tell us about what you've been doing, Mike.
Well, I was confined to the workshop for a simple reason that my daughters are sometimes at home. They need to work or go to school, so they're all in their laptops and having chats and conversations, and they don't want the old guy to walk around and make noise. So I retreated to my garage, which is fortunately heated, and what do you do then? So I came up with something which I've been playing and dabbling in my head for a long time, which was 3D printing. I mean, it is the printing industry, and I knew a lot about, offset printing. I knew flexo, I knew large format printing, I knew textile printing. I didn't know much about 3D printing. And everybody was telling me it was expensive. That was the biggest thing. It was expensive, it was difficult, it was complicated, and should I go and invest, thousands and thousands of euros into machinery? Well, I don't have that kind of cash. But once starting to look around, I found that it is an amazingly useful tool for our industry. So for under 1,000 euros, I bought myself a 3D home printer. It's filament based. It's not the highest resolution, and it doesn't give you, the millions and millions of colors that some devices on the market do. But it does what I wanted it to do, and which was play around with it and learn. And I learned a lot of things. I learned, for example, that additive manufacturing is something which a lot of people think wrongly about. If you want to do additive manufacturing, you need a farm of these big HP 3D printers or Stratuses or whatever. But if you want to make one, not a sample, but one tool, I'll give you an example. I have a little black block here with a hole in it, and if you look closely, you'll probably see the hole. What I needed to do is I needed to drill 10 pieces of an encoder, which is a electronic device, a little rotary device, and I needed to make sure that the hole was at the exact same place. Now, putting it in a vise didn't really work. I mean, the vise was moving, the positioning wasn't always right. I need to put the drill by hand. My God, it just didn't work. So I designed within 5 minutes a little block with a hole the size of the encoder where I can put it in and basically drill it. And wow, it worked. And I was surprised because it was so easy. Within 20 minutes of printing, 3D printing is slow, but it gave me the opportunity to make something of that. And then I really started into investigations in myself and growing more. I found out that you can print different colors. This is a knob of, in this case, a Cessna 172 replica. It's the knob where you put the mixture.
That looks like something from a washing machine, or
it could be.
Yeah,
it could be. And it is absolutely amazingly accurate. How it fits, but you can make really complicated designs. This is a rotary encoders. In this case, it's a dual rotary encoder, so you can turn here, and there's a little gear inside, which I'm trying to
hold it up a bit there, Mike. Yeah, hold it up a little.
Let's see if
that's
I can
it.
find this.
There
we go.
Yeah.
It's always a little difficult to find out
Yeah.
where there we go. So
Yeah.
there's a camera. I'm not that good at this, guys. And I need to turn it around, and whoa, there we go. See, and you can turn this, and it just moves, but it moves independently. So this is all 3D printed, and I printed it at home with virtually very little knowledge. The last thing that I've been playing around with is somebody said, "But Mike, why do you print everything in the same color?" Because, well, I don't know better. A knob is a knob, right? But then he said, well, you can print different colors with the same device. I said, well, yeah, but my device doesn't support that. No, it does. You need to change the color of the filament. So I did the first one. Here's a button, and there's a little arrow in the middle, and that's white, and it was a black button, and I printed the top, but it didn't look too good because I made a mistake. Honestly, I'm not that great. So what I did is I printed it again, and this is the correct. So having the button printed correctly, look at the difference. This is made at home. Oh, by the way, the amazing cost of this is about 4 cents for the button.
And the difference is amazing to see, Mike. I mean, between the right and the wrong.
And it goes really far, because this is, for example, a faceplate of a radio, which is, it looks kind of cool, but it's not the same as a faceplate when you print it like this, where you basically print the white on top, and it's printed. It is not a paint. It's pretty much scratch proof. So, there's a lot of opportunities. And then I thought, okay, this is fun because it's a hobby, but how about the next step? How about putting this into my mind for printing industry? What can we do to take a printer like this, or a simple printer, and add something to my complex industry? And I said, well, how about, when you're doing COVID signs, and you're making these washing machine, wash bags, you need to do all kinds of stuff. But maybe there's containers, or there is clips that you can make where you can put acrylic in for making it a better hanging system, which is not available, for a certain corner or a certain something. It is extremely simple to do. If you know Illustrator, and most of us do, come on, if you don't know Illustrator and you're in the graphic industry, it's going to be tough. But you import this document into something called Tinkercad. Never heard of it, but Tinkercad is from AutoCAD. It's free. It's online. No cost. You import it, you extrude it to a height so you can make it. You can add things. You can add all kinds of circles. Really cool. Tinkercad.com. Try it out. It is quite simple to make 3D, because honestly speaking, I wasn't really ready to go into Fusion 360 and AutoCAD 3D, and I'm getting to the point I need to be easy working. I don't want to learn much anymore. Well, I like to learn, but not programming. The thing is, when you come to Tinkercad and those kind of things, you find out that there's other things. Gardena, the Gardena, the water hose things you need for your garden, as a simple example, but they're expensive. A little thingy like that, to connect two tubes of a water hose, it will cost you, €9. A little bit ridiculous, but hey, they basically control the market. Well, then there is something called Thingiverse. I know they have crazy names in the 3D industry, but Thingiverse is like a repository of 3D files, free for anybody to download and print.
Really? Let me stop you there. Thingiverse, and it literally,
Thingiverse.
It's like royalty-free items.
It's royalty-free. It's basically the community sharing to the community. And if
That's
you
fantastic.
type in Gardena or Hoselock or one of the brands, and then you will find tons of all kinds of things, even things that Gardena and Hoselock don't have. It's an amazing industry, and I think that for starting into this and making your time useful in the pandemic time, I think I've been able to really make the next step just by playing and learning and growing into this. I've made tons of designs. I've made logos for ceramics. where I print the logo. I made a 3D scan. I enforced it. I embossed it. I went up. I printed it, and my wife uses it for her ceramics. She stamps her name into ceramics. Something which normally, if I had to buy it, I probably had to pay 35 euros to get it made somewhere. Now, total cost 5 cents and maybe an hour printing. So think about the possibilities, and they're really endless. The size is the only thing that's different. But if you really get into 3D printing, start with a small, 20 by 30 centimeter, which is 20 by 20 by 30 height. You have to think 3D again. You have to think height. But think about playing with that. And then if you want to go into this market, there are all kinds of devices. You have Mimaki has all kinds of color devices. There is a company from Israel that has all kinds of devices, Stratasys, HP, etc. There's a lot of people investing into this. And you don't all need to print, 100 BMW dashboard parts.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Mimaki's
Yeah,
just launched a new color machine, a small one.
Yes, they have.
Almost desktop sized,
Yes,
which I was surprised by.
I haven't seen it by my own eyes. There's no trade show possibilities. Yeah. Maybe in the virtual trade show we can do it the next time. But what they have done is they've taken their very successful UGF series and basically took their technology of the 3D and implemented that into that smaller device. I don't know what the cost and the price point is, but I think it's quite attractive.
Yeah,
I think it has 10 million colors. So, hey,
Well, 10 million colours. I mean, colours is incredible now. But Mimaki also, at the beginning of the year, got into partnership with Massivit, the Israeli company. Yeah, and I really thought, well, here we go. I can now see a coming together of Massivit and Mimaki using Mimaki's colour technology to put into the large-scale Massivit, which is one of the problems for the Massivit is that, it's a mono machine. Everything has to be smoothed and sanded, cleaned and painted. Those types of problems are slowing down production. So I thought, well, you put Mimaki's colour technology into the scale of a Massivit, where you're producing finished coloured models, it's a no-brainer. But they haven't done that.
No, but it's impossible. And I'll tell you why.
Go on.
Yeah, it is. The technologies are totally different. The Massivit machine is a filament machine, which basically is a strand of plastic that is basically being transported into an extruder, which is basically a machine that heats the plastic so it gets molten, and then you basically print the molten plastic. The Mimaki technology for their 3D multicolor printing is basically a UV printer, printing layer of special UV inks, and a soluble liquid for supports, for making sure it rises. And what do you need to support, for example? I'll give you an example, a very simple example, but if you are printing something like this, you can imagine that here's a big hole, and you cannot print into thin air. So what you do is you print little, very thin lines to hold up the part. Mimaki technology works with a gel type thing, which basically they print a gel where the color can lay on top of the gel, and then you remove the gel by water. The same thing happens with HP, for example. In their machines, they have a powder, and this powder is basically the support. So you need a support. Where the Massivit is basically printing line by line, top on top, and going up. With a filament, the Mimaki printer is printing like a multi, printer, like we know all the inkjet printers. So combination of those are different. There's one more technology, by the way, which is resin-based, which is stereoscopic, well, something like that. Very difficult name, but it's a liquid, and this liquid is basically a resin, and there is a light with mirrors going through it and hitting that resin at a certain point. And the moment that it hits at a certain point, it basically solidifies. And this resin, basically, you can do the whole thing is basically a support, and it's in there. Those are the three reasonable known technologies. There's always some other technologies, but I mean, it would be going into too much depth to really explain all that. But I think the technology is there. I think that art knowledge of the print industry and our knowledge of where things could be needed, we could use it. We could use it a little bit more than just thinking, oh, it's an additive manufacturing of the 3D dashboard of
Yeah,
BMW.
yeah. Funnily enough, I was interviewing a print managing director of a printing company only last month on one of our Silent Digital Online. So we were talking about digital cutting, and he has bought Stratasys. So I was most surprised why a printing, a sign and display company would buy a Stratasys machine. And he was really, like you, Mike, manufacturing small objects. And that was his thing. He said he couldn't get the type of things he needed, like hinges and brackets and things, that would meet his designs. So what he was doing was basically printing them on his Stratasys, and he was, able to generate it. Now, that's a lot of investment in a Stratasys machine to do that sort of stuff, where maybe a £1,000 printer could do it, but I guess the Stratasys would be a lot quicker as well.
No, I agree, but I mean, this is a simple example. This is a metal bolt, the screw part of it, and this is a plastic part. It's exactly the same. The only thing is the weight is tenfold less. It's also less strong, but I can put this in another 3D printed part I did, and basically I have now something which I can put something through, and there's a little hole where I can put, for example, a steel wire for a hanging situation. This is just one simple example. This is another example where I made this I tried to make it. It's not the best of all, but for my i1. I wanted to measure something where I basically say I like to make sure that the height of my i1 is exactly the same all the time. So when I measure my color patches, it wasn't available. It wasn't there. I wanted to do it because of the big size of my gap in the i1 doesn't normally allow me when I'm really close to do textiles. I tried to do this. By the way, it doesn't work. But I tried. I played, and it gave me the opportunity to at least try it out. So from that point of view, I think there's a lot of things that you can use for yourself. A lot of things you can do, Colin, and play around. And if there's any suggestions and you want to know some stuff, if it's possible or not, again, drop us a mail, and I'll try to figure it out for you if it is possible and what would be the best technology for you to invest in. For us, we have the knowledge. At least we try to have the knowledge, or let's say we pretend to have the knowledge. But we're trying to help you, and so ask us questions, and we'll see what we can do in the 3D space for you, or any other space in the future.
Mike, maybe some of those things that you talked about, the websites where people could go to download things, if you could put that on our Facebook page, for example,
we will do that.
That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
It'd be really
that
useful.
gives you the same. I mean, that gives everybody the opportunity to like us on Facebook. Okay,
yeah.
So, if not, you don't. The names are wrong. I didn't say Tinkercad. I said something else. But
but that's also the way people
like us on Facebook.
If you give us a like, then you'll know when we're doing our next show. You'll be able to keep informed and keep up with everything that's going on. So, but I think that 3D printing is a missed opportunity in our industry. I really believe that every print company today should have a machine like yours for about £1,000. They should be putting somebody in charge of learning how to make things, how to do things, even if it's just to manufacture bits and pieces for in the shop, because things break.
Absolutely, Colin. And again, don't get. When you get into 3D printing, you want to get into 3D printing, don't buy a $300 cheap Chinese 3D printer. Why? If something is wrong, you'll probably have to get a Chinese manual and then find out what's wrong. There's a couple of brands out there which are really, really, really good. One of them is Prusa. They're from Prague. They've sold 150,000 machines worldwide. $900 machine, easy. And you say, well, that's home. Yeah, it's home for me. But the same machine is being used at KLM. I know that for a fact, where they basically build tools, specific tools. Because You can print in a lot of different materials in these filaments. You can use PLA, you can use PETG, you can use ABS, you can use nylon. There's even wood, which is wood and plastic, and metal and plastic. So there's all kinds of possibilities to print with, and not all of them are as easy as PLA. PLA is the basic standard plastic. It's cheap, it's environmentally friendly. It's why am I saying that? It is friendly because there's no odors, there's no gases, and it is recyclable. So it just basically is good. When you get into nylons and ABS, you need suction, you need all kinds of extras. So start something simple, play with it, look at what the possibilities are, and again, we're there to help. Jack, are you playing 3D already, or you're basically sitting there enjoying the show?
Well, I'm happily researching my next 3D printer. Now, I'm very much. Do you know what? I love the passion of getting into a kind of whole new technology during this pandemic, where we have to stay at home, learn something really useful. What I would love to know is, and as to explore as the weeks go by, is what other people have been doing in these few months. What have people been learning, fine tuning, developing? Because I think all of these things are going to help us, give us the tools to come out really positively next year.
Mm-hmm. At the start of the whole COVID thing, I wrote an article and sent it out in one of my newsletters, which basically encouraged print owners to spend the time with their feet up on the desk, staring out the window and thinking about the business, because now will be the time to do that. That's when you should be taking great advantage of it. Obviously, we've got to, keep working and keep our income levels up and keep our staff employed. But, a really good example of that was just recently I read a case study of a company in Ireland that had bought a flatbed printer before the pandemic kicked in. And because he was able to print direct substrate, they sat down and said, well, all right, now what do we do? Let's make products that people will need from working from home. And so they created out of nowhere a complete range of things like desks that were literally would clip together. They would make things for fitness, so that if you're doing exercising at home, laptop stands, a whole range, and it just goes on and on and on. Once your imagination gets going, as indeed I can imagine with 3D printing, it's a wonderful thing. And just to close on the 3D thing, I remember a dear old friend of mine, Sydney Bob, who's Sydney used to run the BAPC in the UK. This is a lovely man, but I remember him telling me a story about one of his members, who was a printing company that bought a 3D printer, in the early stages, like Mike's, nothing too fancy. But what he was doing, he was printing menus for a restaurant chain. But things got a bit competitive, so, he was having to sort of, give a boost to his offering. So what the guy offered the client was that he would 3D print a clip for the menu to stand in that had the restaurant name on it. Yeah, a really simple thing. So like you said, Mike, a logo in a plastic clip, and that won him a ton more business just from having a 3D printer and being able to do so. So he's thinking outside of the box, learning how to, pivot his business in a different direction.
I think
Absolutely.
What Mike was saying, the cost of producing these items is, once you've invested in the equipment, is so small, they can be a bit of a lost leader. You can do that. You sell something else, you can provide a personalized widgety thing that might be useful. It's a great way of building those customer relationships and building them going forward. So
and again, I mean, it's an investment of under €1,000. It's the same as a desktop printer. Come on.
Yeah. Plus, if you've got one in your business, whatever you do on it is research and development. So that gives you tax credits. So think about that. 3D printing can bring very large tax credits for a business.
All right. And again, you can notice where Colin comes from. I'm not sure if every country in Europe has the same rules, but again, in UK does. And maybe till November 7th, I think it is, guys. And then you guys are going to be with your own tax credit, correct?
Well, things are going to change, yeah. But who knows? We still don't know what's going to happen on that front, Mike.
Well,
Yeah.
at least I know you guys, so I have the big advantage of being able to get a sponsor to be able to travel to the UK. So that's okay.
We'll be working on that. So,
Oh,
Jack,
boy.
over to you, Jack.
Well, I love how we have Mike here to keep us honest on the British front. We are a global show. We're not all about just what's happening here in the UK. And I think, to be fair, when we come back next week, I think we probably ought to raise the rather horny subject of Brexit. I think it's important to a lot of companies, and we'll be maybe looking a little bit into the implications of what will happen, if there's any further information, of course. But I do think I would very much like this to be an interactive show. I would like more people to be involved. I'd like to know what's happening, what's interesting to you, and I'd like you to come on and be a printhead and have a chat with us. Can't listen to these two all week, every week. I want some new blood on the show. So I'm very much hoping that we can spread the word of what we're doing. We're looking to entertain, we're looking to inform, and we need to bring you, the industry, in to get involved with us.
Very much so. I would wholeheartedly
Absolutely.
support that. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we'll wrap up. We'll be back next week. We will keep you informed via our Facebook page. So again, be sure to leave us a like. If there's anything that you want us to address or you'd like to talk about or leave a question for us, just drop a comment in the questions there, and we'll address that in our next show. So
Many thanks to everyone.
I think
Thank you,
that's it. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jack. And we look forward to seeing you next time for another edition of Printheads.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you next week.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.